Have you ever imagined that just a tiny moment could change your entire life? A single word, a chance encounter, sometimes. Miracles happen when we least expect them. Lily is a homeless girl, living among the cold, hidden corners of Detroit. She has nothing but a few scavenged belongings and a dream long buried. But on one fateful night, as she picked up a plastic bottle near a film crew, she had no idea that standing just a few steps away from her was Eminem, a living legend. Could a girl with nothing in her hands and a global superstar connect to create something extraordinary? Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories to uncover this inspiring tale in its entirety. Let's dive into this emotional story right now. Night falls over Detroit. The city once famed for its industrial charm, now colder than ever. Towering buildings stand silently behind a thick veil of fog, and the dim glow of streetlights barely pushes back the loneliness that lingers on every street. A biting wind howls through the alleys, carrying the chill of a harsh winter. Under a small street corner, Lily huddles close to a makeshift burning trash can. The flickering flames dance, offering a feeble warmth in the freezing night. Her trembling hands hover over the fire, trying to fend off the numbing cold. The thin, tattered clothes she wears, along with the old coat she scavenged from a junk heap, do little to shield her from the freezing air. In the distance, car horns echo, mingling with the sound of hurried footsteps on the pavement. Passers-by glance at Lily with curious eyes. Or worse, don't look at her at all. They rush toward cozy cafes, brightly lit cinemas, or simply head home to warm blankets and families waiting for them. But Lily has nowhere to go. Lily was once a girl full of hope. Just 2 years ago, she worked as a waitress at a small diner in downtown Detroit. That diner was more than just a workplace. It felt like a second family to her. She loved serving the regulars and chatting with them about their everyday lives. But then the pandemic struck. The diner closed its doors, and Lily lost her job. Her meager savings quickly ran out as she struggled to pay her rent. She searched tirelessly for other jobs, but in a city grappling with economic turmoil, no one needed another waitress. Things went from bad to worse when Lily couldn't afford her rent and was forced to leave her apartment. She tried turning to her family for help, but the gap between them was too wide. Lily had left home at 18 after a heated argument with her father. Her beloved mother had passed away early, and her father never accepted her dream of pursuing art. Since then, they hadn't spoken. With no shelter and no friends to turn to, Lily found herself homeless. Every day was the same for Lily, a tiring, unending cycle. She woke up on cold benches in the park or beneath bridges where she had spent the night. As dawn broke, she would wander the streets, searching for scraps she could sell. The small bag slung over her back was her most important possession. Inside, she kept the items she had scavenged: an old bottle of water, a few pieces of charity bread, and a faded family photo she could never bring herself to throw away. Some days, Lily managed to earn a few coins from selling scrap. Other days, she came away with nothing but the disdain of those around her. Beggar, though not a frequent remark, the words were enough to deepen her sense of shame. Still, Lily didn't give up. She picked up every piece of paper, every empty bottle, because it was her only means of survival. Despite the harshness of her life, Lily held on to a small glimmer of hope that things would change. She believed that if she worked hard enough, one day, she would find an opportunity to start over. That evening, as Lily wandered through an old street, she unexpectedly came across a crowd. Music blared from large speakers, and the bright lights from film equipment illuminated the entire corner. Curious, Lily moved closer, keeping a safe distance so no one would notice her. In front of her was a vibrant scene. A group of people dancing while a man stood at the center, his cap tilted low, obscuring half of his face. Although she couldn't see him clearly, Lily immediately recognized him: Eminem, the legendary rapper she had listened to countless times in her youth. Her heart raced. Eminem was a symbol of Detroit, someone who had risen from poverty to become an international star. To Lily, he wasn't just an artist but proof that one could overcome adversity. Yet now, standing before him, she felt small and worlds apart. Lily stood there, watching Eminem from a distance, She didn't dare move closer or say a word. He belongs to a different world, she thought. But deep down, she couldn't stop herself from wondering, could their paths ever cross? While the film crew was still busy with the final shots, Lily quietly picked up a plastic bottle from a nearby corner. She quickly slipped it into her bag, but a voice suddenly sounded from behind her. "What are you picking that up for?" Lily turned around, startled, her heart pounding. Standing before her was Eminem, the very man she had just been watching from afar. His voice wasn't angry, but the curiosity in his gaze made her feel uneasy. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I just thought it was discarded," Lily stammered, lowering her head to avoid his eyes. Eminem stepped closer, his expression calm. "It's okay, but I'm curious. What do you do with things like that?" Lily hesitated. She wasn't used to answering questions like this, especially from someone so famous. "I picked them up to sell for scrap," she replied softly, trying not to appear too vulnerable. Eminem studied her for a few moments, as if trying to piece together the story behind the young woman in front of him. "So, how long have you been doing this?" he asked, his tone gentler now. "A year," Lily answered. "It's not by choice, but I don't have any other options." Her final words left Eminem momentarily silent. "Are you here alone?" Eminem asked, his voice softening, tinged with empathy. Lily nodded, though she didn't want to delve into the details. Yet something about Eminem's sincere gaze made her feel a fleeting sense of safety, even if just for this moment. "Yes, I. I don't have any family here. All I have is this job picking up scraps." Eminem frowned slightly but said nothing right away. He understood all too well what it felt like to be cornered, to be left alone to face the world. After a few moments of silence, he spoke. "Don't you plan to do anything else? I mean, don't you have any dreams?" Lily was taken aback by the question. She let out a small laugh, but it was a sad one. "Who doesn't have dreams? But dreams don't do much for me now." Eminem didn't let it go. "Try me," he said, his gaze serious. "What's your dream?" Lily hesitated, but then decided to speak. "I used to want to be a fashion designer," she admitted. "I loved creating things that were unique and different, but I never had the chance. No money. No one believed in me. So, now I just try to get by." Eminem listened silently, not interrupting. When Lily finished, he nodded slightly. "That's not a bad dream," he said. "In fact, I think it's pretty amazing. But have you tried doing anything to pursue it?" Lily sighed. "What could I possibly do? Everything I make is from trash. Who would care about something like that?" Eminem was about to reply when his eyes caught sight of the bag slung over Lily's shoulder. The bag was striking, crafted from carefully stitched scraps of fabric, its bold yet harmonious colors drawing attention. Despite its worn appearance, the design was so creative that Eminem couldn't look away. "That bag," he said, pointing at it. "Did you make it?" Startled, Lily instinctively pulled the bag closer. "Yes, I made it, but it's just for personal use. It's not important." "Not important?" Eminem repeated, a hint of surprise in his voice. "Don't you see how unique it is? I've never seen anyone create something like this out of discarded materials." Lily looked at him, unsure if he was being serious or just polite. "Really?" she asked, her voice still tinged with doubt. "Really?" Eminem affirmed. "It's not just beautiful, it's meaningful. Do you have any idea how many people are out there looking for something that's both creative and sustainable?" Eminem's words left Lily feeling confused. She had never thought that what she created could have any real value. To her, they were just small efforts to keep herself from feeling useless. But now, the man standing before her was viewing them from an entirely different perspective. Eminem looked at Lily and gave a faint smile. "I have an idea," he said. "If you agree, I'd like you to design a one-of-a-kind piece from recycled materials that I can use in an upcoming performance or music project." Lily was stunned. The offer was so sudden, so overwhelming compared to anything she had ever imagined. She shook her head and took a step back. "I can't. I'm not good enough. I'm just someone with nothing." Eminem stepped closer, his gaze steady. "Don't say that. You have talent. I can see it. And sometimes, all it takes to start is one opportunity. I'm not asking for perfection. I just want you to try. Lily felt her heart tremble, but at the same time, fear consumed her. She was used to rejection, accustomed to the sting of failure. The thought of disappointing someone like Eminem terrified her. But I don't know how, she whispered. Start with what you know. Eminem replied, his voice gentle but resolute. Do it your way. I believe you can do this. Eminem's words felt like a small glimmer of light piercing through the darkness of Lily's life. Despite the lingering doubts in her heart, she nodded. I'll try, she said, her voice trembling. Eminem smiled. Good. And don't worry, I'll be here to help you. Lily stepped into a small room in Eminem's studio. Warm light from a desk lamp illuminated a large wooden table, scattered with colorful fabrics, scissors, needles, threads, and recycled materials she had never imagined working with. The room was quiet, save for soft background music playing from a speaker in the corner, making her feel as though she had entered an entirely different world. This is your space, Eminem said as he stood beside her, his eyes gleaming with pride, as if he were presenting her with a precious gift. Do whatever comes to mind. There's no rush, no need for perfection. Just start. Lily thanked him in a trembling voice before sitting down on the chair near the table. Everything before her looked unfamiliar, far more luxurious than anything she had ever worked with. These recycled materials, in her hands, would either transform into a creation that could change her life or lead to more disappointment. The thought filled her with both excitement and pressure. When Lily began working, the first few days were anything but easy. She sat at the table, scissors in hand, staring at a piece of fabric with no idea where to start. Ideas flitted through her mind, but the moment she tried to act on them, they vanished, leaving only anxiety in their wake. Can I do this? Is this a mistake? Lily asked herself repeatedly, her eyes fixed on the scattered materials on the table. Eminem often stopped by, saying little, just observing from the doorway. Once, he stepped inside and said, "You don't have to force it. Let it come naturally." But how could Lily let things flow naturally when the weight of pressure bore down so heavily on her shoulders? She feared that her work wouldn't meet Eminem's expectations, or worse, that it would make him regret believing in her. The abundant resources in the studio, which should have been a help, instead felt alien and overwhelming. The materials were too pristine, too perfect compared to the scraps she was accustomed to. She didn't know how to combine them in a way that felt right. One evening, Lily was on the verge of giving up. She sat motionless in her chair, staring out the window. Outside, the streetlights flickered, but to her, everything felt dim and uncertain. Eminem showed up, as usual, but this time, he didn't stay back to observe from a distance. He walked into the room carrying 2 cups of hot coffee. Take a break. Let's talk for a bit, he said, placing 1 cup in front of her. Lily looked at him, feeling as though he could read her mood. She picked up the cup, the warmth soothing her cold hands. You're not like anyone else I've met, Eminem began. You have talent, but I get the sense that you're fighting yourself more than this work. Lily gave him a faint smile. I guess that's true, she replied, pausing before continuing. I used to have a mom who loved art. She always encouraged me to create, to do what I loved, but she passed away when I was young. Everything changed after that. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. My dad didn't understand me. He thought pursuing art was pointless. We argued a lot, until I left home at 18. I thought I could stand on my own, but things didn't turn out the way I hoped. Eminem listened attentively, not interrupting her once. When Lily finished, he nodded. I know what that feels like, he said. Eminem leaned against the table, his eyes distant as if recalling something from the past. I grew up in Detroit with nothing. My mom wasn't exactly supportive. My family was messy, poor. When I said I wanted to make music, no one believed in me. He turned to look at Lily. You know, I was rejected over and over again. People told me I wasn't good enough, that I didn't belong in this industry. But I kept going, because I knew, if I didn't try, I'd never know what I was capable of. Eminem's words brought Lily a sense of relief. He wasn't just a music legend. He was living proof that adversity could be overcome. "You're going to fail," Eminem continued, surprising Lily. "I failed, too. But failure is how we learn and get better. So don't be afraid to fail. Just try. Because even if it's not perfect, it's better than doing nothing." Lily remained silent, but inside her, a small spark began to ignite. She couldn't say she was fully confident yet, but she realized she wasn't alone. "Thank you," Lily said softly, her voice filled with sincerity. Eminem smiled, stood up, and walked out of the room, leaving Lily alone with her thoughts. That night, Lily decided to start over. She sat down at the table, picked up a small piece of fabric, and began to work, no longer worrying about whether it would be perfect. She simply let her ideas guide her, allowing her hands to create freely, driven by what her heart wanted to express. Her journey was no longer just about completing a project, it was about rediscovering herself. Long nights passed in the studio as Lily immersed herself in her work. After the motivational push from Eminem, she began to truly believe in herself. Each scrap of fabric, every piece of recycled material, was stitched together with care and heartfelt emotion. She didn't want to create just a product. She wanted it to tell her story, a journey from darkness to light. The jacket she crafted was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It embodied street-style flair while maintaining a distinct and personal edge. The body of the jacket was made from patches of old denim paired with recycled leather, creating a bold and unique texture that was both rugged and unconventional. Small details like hand-stitched logos, subtle graffiti art, and buttons made from recycled metal added an extra layer of boldness. The standout feature was a hand-printed phrase across the back of the jacket, "From trash to treasure." When Lily placed the completed jacket on the rack, her heart trembled. This wasn't just a jacket. It was the culmination of everything she had been through and her hope for the future. One morning, Eminem dropped by the studio as usual. He saw Lily standing next to the jacket, her eyes reflecting exhaustion, but also a glimmer of hope. "It's finished," Lily said, her voice trembling slightly. Eminem walked over and looked at the jacket. His expression shifted immediately. He picked up the jacket, examining every detail. "Lily," he said, his voice deepening, "this is a masterpiece." Lily could hardly believe her ears. She stood frozen, waiting for his next words. "This jacket isn't just beautiful," Eminem said, trying it on. "It tells a story, and that's exactly what I wanted." Eminem stepped in front of the mirror, turning to view the entire jacket. A satisfied smile spread across his face. "I'm going to wear this at my upcoming big show in Detroit," he declared. Lily's eyes widened. "The show at Detroit Stadium?" she asked, unable to hide her surprise. "That's right," Eminem replied. "Thousands of fans, media, and people around the world. I want them to see this jacket and hear your story." Lily was stunned. She had dreamed of her work being recognized, but she had never imagined it would appear on such a grand stage. In the days that followed, Lily experienced a whirlwind of emotions. The excitement of knowing her jacket would be showcased in front of thousands was constantly interrupted by waves of anxiety. What if they don't like it? What if they think it's not good enough? Lily asked herself countless times. Eminem noticed her unease. One day, as they sat together in the studio, he placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Lily," he said firmly, "don't worry about what others think. What matters is that you created this from your heart. That is enough." Lily looked at Eminem and tried to smile. His words eased her burden, but the anxiety didn't entirely disappear. The day before the performance, Eminem took some time to talk to her privately. He shared stories from his early career, describing the first time he stood on stage and how the fear almost made him give up. "But I realized," he said, "fear isn't the enemy. It's fuel. You're afraid because you care, and that means you're doing the right thing." Eminem's words truly resonated with Lily this time. She couldn't control the future, but she could control how she faced it. The day of the performance drew near. Lily was invited to attend the final rehearsal at Detroit Stadium. As she stepped into the massive venue, A wave of awe washed over her. The empty rows of seats awaited thousands of fans. The stage lights blazed brightly, and the sound tests echoed across the vast space. Eminem appeared on stage, wearing Lily's jacket. He moved through the stage, testing his steps, holding the mic and speaking a few lines to the technical crew. From afar, Lily watched him with an indescribable mix of gratitude and pride. "You did great," Eminem said as he stepped off the stage and approached her. "Now, believe in yourself. We're going to make something special happen." That night, Lily couldn't sleep, but instead of fear, she felt an unusual excitement. She thought about everything she had gone through to get to this day. Whatever happened, she knew she had already come farther than she had ever dreamed. The night of the Detroit Stadium performance officially began. Thousands of fans filled the rows of seats, the brilliant stage lights illuminating the city itself. Deafening cheers erupted as Eminem stepped onto the stage, radiating his trademark explosive energy. But this time, the audience's attention wasn't solely on his music. Eminem wore the special jacket Lily had designed. Under the stage lights, the jacket stood out, its bold and unconventional details coming to life through Eminem's commanding presence. The phrase, "from trash to treasure," embroidered on the back became a powerful declaration, captivating everyone's eyes. "Detroit, tonight I'm bringing more than just music," Eminem said during a pause in his performance, his voice echoing through the stadium. "This jacket, it represents what we're all capable of, turning what seems worthless into something extraordinary." The crowd roared, with many raising their phones to capture the moment. Members of the media in the front rows quickly took notes, realizing they were witnessing something special. Meanwhile, backstage, Lily stood still, watching everything unfold on the large screen. She could hardly believe that the jacket she once feared wouldn't be accepted had now become the center of attention on such a grand stage. In the days that followed, Lily's life transformed completely. She was no longer an anonymous girl scavenging the streets of Detroit. Instead, she became a promising young designer, sought after by both the fashion industry and the media. Eminem, true to his word, introduced Lily to some of his contacts in the sustainable fashion industry. At one networking event, she had the opportunity to converse with renowned designers and industry experts. "I used to think I'd never have a chance like this," Lily said during a small gathering. "But now I realize that with someone believing in you, everything can change." One of the designers Eminem introduced her to was a pioneer in recycled fashion. Captivated by Lily's work, they invited her to join a major project, creating a sustainable fashion collection using recycled materials, aimed at spreading awareness about environmental conservation. But the opportunities didn't stop there. A prestigious fashion academy in New York extended an offer to Lily, granting her a full scholarship. "Your talent truly deserves to be honed," the invitation read. When Lily received the invitation, she broke down in tears. She had never imagined that her life, once defined by cold days on the streets, could take such a hopeful turn. One morning, Lily stood on a small stage at a press conference for the Sustainable Fashion Project. She wore one of her new designs, her eyes glowing with newfound confidence. "My story isn't about becoming famous," she said to the dozens of reporters' cameras. "It's a story about hope and opportunity. I hope that what I do can inspire anyone who feels lost. Never underestimate your own strength. And more importantly, always be willing to help those who need a chance." In the audience, Eminem sat in the front row, quietly smiling. He knew he had placed his faith in the right person. Detroit, the city where Lily had struggled in darkness, now embraced her with a new light. Her life had completely transformed. Once a scavenger, Lily was now a student at one of the most prestigious fashion academies in the world. New York became her new home, where she embarked on a journey of learning and working in the fashion industry. The academy not only provided in-depth courses, but also opened doors for her to collaborate with top designers. There, she was introduced to an international project in sustainable fashion, a field in which she had become a rising icon. Each day, she walked into bright classrooms, sitting among talented peers, but she never forgot her past. She still carried the first bag she ever made from recycled materials, a keepsake that reminded her that everything can begin from the smallest of steps. Meanwhile, the jacket Eminem once wore had been displayed in a special fashion exhibit, becoming part of a collection that celebrated the power of creativity and sustainability. There were nights when Lily sat in her small apartment in New York, gazing out the window and reflecting on her journey. She remembered the biting cold of her homeless days in Detroit, the times when she felt hopeless and worthless. But now, she no longer saw herself as a victim of circumstance. Those memories no longer pained her. Instead, they filled her with gratitude. It was those very struggles that had shaped her into a stronger person. She could never forget Eminem, the man who entered her life like an unexpected ray of light. He didn't just give her an opportunity. He inspired her to believe in herself. Every word he spoke, every act of support, was a precious source of encouragement that she carried with her always. She also thought of her late mother, the one who had always encouraged her to create. Every time she picked up a pair of scissors, cut fabric, or pieced together scraps of recycled materials, she felt as though her mother was still with her, smiling and proud. Lily's future was no longer just about herself. With all she had endured, she wanted to help others in similar situations. She began planning her first collection, a line inspired by recycled materials, telling a story of overcoming adversity. Lily also started getting involved in charitable organizations, contributing to support homeless individuals and spreading the message that anyone can find light in the darkness. One afternoon, while sketching a new design in her small room, Lily received a letter from Eminem. Inside was a brief note: "Thank you for proving that talent and determination have no limits. Keep spreading the light." Lily smiled. The letter wasn't just encouragement. It was a reminder that she was on the right path. Lily's story doesn't end here. Instead, it's only just beginning. From a girl scavenging on the streets, she rose to become a promising designer. But more importantly, she discovered her own worth, not through fame or recognition, but through the courage to rise and keep moving forward. Under the lights of New York City, Lily walked with confidence and hope. Her journey served as a powerful reminder that no matter how far life pushes you down, with determination, everything can change. Lily's life is a vivid testament to the transformative power of hope and belief. From the freezing streets of Detroit, she overcame adversity through her talent, hard work, and the timely support of an unexpected ally, Eminem. This story isn't just about one person's transformation. It's a reminder that in the darkest moments, even the smallest spark of light can illuminate an entire path forward. If Lily's story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this story with your friends and loved ones to spread the message of resilience and kindness. Hit the subscribe button on Life Stories today so you won't miss more meaningful and inspiring stories like this one. Don't forget to like, share this story, and leave a comment about your thoughts. We'd love to hear your stories and reflections. Life Stories, where every story brings light and hope. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next story.